about some of the interesting weather instruments in geography, and those are very important for mapping purposes. So we would focus on firstly what is weather and weather forecast. So weather is a day-to-day changing phenomena that is seen, and weather forecast is when we are trying to forecast might be within 24 hours, which is called as nowcast. There could be a short range forecast of 1 to 3 days, there could be a long range forecast, and so on. So the idea is to understand the condition of the given place at a particular time, and this could be in the terms of temperature, pressure, wind, cloud cover, or any other parameters associated with atmosphere. In India, we have the IMD, which is the Indian Meteorological Department, that basically releases the conditions that are seen. And this IMD was established in 1875. So the establishment date is important. So in 1875, IMD was established with its headquarters presently located in Delhi. Initially, it was in Kolkata and then later moved to Delhi. Now, what are the weather observations that we take into account? There are three levels of weather observations. The first is the surface observatories, that is the Stephenson screen that we would understand in a while. Then you have the upper air observatories, and finally the space observations that are seen. So, worldwide you have the WMO, or the World Meteorological Organization, which is a specialized branch of UN which coordinates these activities in detail. Now, coming on to the space-based observatory. From the space we talk about mainly temperature, cloud cover, wind, and how we basically gather this data. This is through the observations that are made into the atmosphere through the geostationary satellites, and these provide the changing patterns of the weather conditions that are there. So all the information is being acquired from the satellite data, and that is the space-based observation. INSAT is a very good example for India. The next is the surface observations. Now, surface observations, under this we have IMD class 1, which is considered as the highest category, and we have the following things that we take into account. Those could be the maximum and the minimum thermometers for temperature, dry and wet bulb thermometer for humidity, you have anemometer, wind vane, rain gauge, barometer for pressure, and so on. Now, besides this, we would also be able to measure radiation, ozone proportion, the trace gases in the atmosphere, the pollution, the atmospheric electricity. So all those things are being measured through surface observations. Now, the observations takes place at certain predefined interval. So those are at night, 12 o'clock, then you would have 3 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 9 in the morning, 12 noon, then you have 3 in the noon, that is 15, then you would have 6 in the noon, and at night. So every 3 hourly you have the observations that are being recorded. However, for logistics purposes, some of these observations are recorded only during the daytime and not recorded during the night time. Some of those are recorded limited number of times. So based on the requirement and the necessities, we have changes that are being seen. But these are the major surface observations that are done. And then we talked about radiation, we talked about atmospheric electricity, trace gases, ozone. Those are specialized observations that are done under certain cases. Now, this is a Stephenson screen. Now, Stephenson screen is important to understand. This is located at a height of nearly 3 feet 6 inch from the ground, and it has the lowered edges, as you could see. Now, these lowered edges basically allow the wind or air to freely flow into the system. Now, interestingly, this Stephenson's screen has a door which opens with a hinge that is located here, and this hinge basically helps it to open and close. Now, in the north hemisphere, it faces in the north. In the south hemisphere, this door faces in the south. Why? Because the idea is to prevent the direct sun rays from entering in. So, we are trying to prevent the direct sun rays from entering in. It has the maximum and the minimum thermometer, and the dry and the wet bulb thermometer. Maximum and minimum measures the temperature, dry and wet bulb measures the humidity. We'll understand each of this in a while. And the whole idea of this Stephenson's screen is to maintain a uniform temperature of the air as outside within the Stephenson's screen as well. So this is how we are trying to understand the idea of Stephenson's screen. However, rain gauze is not part of a Stephenson screen, definitely, because if it is covered, how would you collect rainwater? So for a very practical purposes, it is kept outside the Stephenson's screen. Now talking about firstly the thermometers, the thermometers for temperature, the maximum and the minimum thermometer. Now thermometer, as we know, is used to measure temperature. When we talk about degree Celsius, it varies from 0 to 100 and therefore has 100 different parts that are there. On a Fahrenheit scale, it varies from 32 to 212, and then a maximum and a minimum thermometer is used to understand the recordings. The maximum thermometer takes the maximum or the highest temperatures during a day. The mercury keeps on increasing, so it's made up of mercury, it's filled with mercury, and mercury keeps up increasing up to the highest point in the day, and then when it cools, it cannot move downwards because there is a small constriction that is there. So once it has gone up, it would remain there, and for the next day it has to be reset to bring it to normal. Okay, so that is why we call it as a maximum thermometer, because it's not that there is evening and the temperature starts to fall, so it would again fall down. No, because there is a constriction and it won't allow the mercury to fall below again, and therefore it would remain where it reached the highest point. However, the minimum thermometer is again interesting. Minimum thermometer takes the minimum value, and rather than filling it with mercury, you have alcohol that is used. So under a maximum thermometer, you have mercury that is used, which is also denoted as Hg, and under a minimum thermometer, you have minimum temperature, you have alcohol that is used. Now as the temperature drops, what would happen? The metal pin would go down and strike a minimum temperature, and that is the way a minimum temperature thermometer works. So we have seen the functioning of a maximum and a minimum thermometer here. Coming on to the wet bulb and the dry bulb thermometer. Now these are used to measure the humidity conditions. The wet bulb thermometer have a muslin cloth which is wet, which is moist, and it is wrapped onto the lower end of the thermometer, and it basically talks about the evaporation which lowers the temperature that is being recorded, and therefore it is called as a wet bulb thermometer. Dry bulb thermometer is not affected by the presence of the vapor in the atmosphere, and its readings are independent of that. When the air is dry, you would have evaporation from the surface of the wet bulb that is very rapid, but it won't be the case with the dry bulb in the case of a dry condition. So the wet bulb thermometer, the temperature would get lower very quick when you have a dry condition, because it is wet and it would quickly evaporate, and as a result the temperature would fall very quickly. So the difference between the wet bulb and a dry bulb thermometer would be very high. The difference between the wet bulb and the dry bulb thermometer would be very high in the case of a dry atmosphere that is seen. So difference of the reading between the wet and the dry helps to understand the humidity. The larger the difference that is there, more aridity or arid conditions are there. So if the difference is high, that means it is more arid. Now let me repeat how. Because when it is dry, what would happen? When you have a wet muslin cloth which is attached in the wet bulb, it would evaporate very quickly, and as a result you would have the temperature rise, that would be the temperature fall, that would be very quick, and the difference between the dry bulb and the wet bulb would be very high, because the evaporation is very quick from the wet surface, and therefore the temperature gets lowered very quickly, and the difference is much high between the wet bulb and the dry bulb thermometer. The next is the wind vane. Now wind vane tells you the direction. Now this is an interesting device which basically helps you to see the direction. So there is a light revolving plate, as you can see the cock revolving here, with an arrowhead. Now this arrowhead points towards at a certain angle, and this shows you the direction whether it's north or northwest, and it basically talks about the direction from which the wind is blowing. Okay, so this is a wind vane for wind direction. The next is a rain gauge. Rain gauge basically helps you to collect water and see what is the proportion of rain that is being seen. The diameter of the collecting funnel here is 20 centimeters. Normally the readings are either measured in millimeters or centimeters, and then you would have the amount of water that is filled in the rain gauge would help you understand how much rainfall has we have witnessed on that point of day. Now, some of the instruments and the name associated. For temperature, we repeat again, we have thermometer. For atmospheric pressure, we have barometer. For wind directions, we have wind vane. For wind velocity, we have anemometers. For rainfall, we have rain gauge. So those are some of the major instruments. Now talking about barometer for pressure, there could be either a mercury barometer or an aneroid barometer. Now aneroid barometer is a barometer which is derived from a Greek name NO, nor, that is A means not, nor means moisture. So without any moisture or without any liquid being filled, we are trying to measure the pressure. So this pressure measurement is without the liquid. However, under a mercury barometer, we are trying to use mercury to understand the pressure. So the aneroid barometer is compact, it is portable, it is made within a metal box, as we could see, and it is completely sealed. Okay. However, a mercury barometer is much more standard equipment. It's highly accurate. So in the atmospheric pressure, it is placed as a balance of the weight of the mercury column in contrast to the weight of the gas that is present here. So this is the amount of mercury that is there, and this amount of air is able to maintain this much amount of mercury. So mercury will basically flow into the tube. When you have a pot of mercury and you invert a tube, the mercury would move up in the tube, and that would be to a level that could balance the section about it, and therefore we basically identify it as being able to maintain the atmospheric column against the mercury that is present. So height of the mercury basically talks about the pressure of the air that is there. So standard we take as 760 millimeters. Okay, so that is what is barometer. Coming on to weather maps, charts and symbols. Now weather map is simply the representation of the weather phenomena that takes place on a flat surface. They are sometimes transmitted as code to the forecasting stations. Meteorological observations basically are recorded by the central observatories located in Pune twice a day, and this data is collected through the seas and the oceans, and all that data basically goes in, and finally you have the observations that are jotted down. Then you have creation of charts that are done. These basically are the synoptic weather charts, as they are called as, and they use the codes of meteorological symbols that are there. So we would understand the symbols in a while. They basically talks about the precipitation, the amount of rainfall, the cloud cover. So here are some of the symbols that are being used. For example, this is a symbol for sunshine, this is a symbol for drifting snow high up, and so on. So with these symbols, these are the meteorological symbols which are used to basically talk about the meteorological or the synoptic charts that are there. Now certain terms that we commonly come across: lines joining places of equal pressure are isobars, equal temperature are isotherms, equal rainfall are isoheights, equal sunshine are isohills, and equal cloud cover are isonefs. So these talk about cloud cover, these talks about sunshine, then you have rainfall, temperature and pressure. So that's how we understand the terms. Also we try to understand the various wind flow. So denotation of the light wind to the hurricane is being denoted by the number of lines that are there. So in the case of hurricanes, you have on the line, you have 6 lines that are drawn, and you have the speed of 118 plus that is seen, and it's highly destructive that is seen. On the other hand, in the case of a light breeze, you would have just single line, and this is how it is seen. Now this is a weather map that is given here, and if you are asked to interpret, you would interpret it as these are the two areas of low pressure that are seen, and across the low pressure you have the contours, the pressure, the isobars that are running. Okay, these show the cloud cover. So here you have the dense cloud covers that are seen, and then you have the wind markers that are associated to it. So in which direction the wind is blowing is also being denoted. You also have the sign of slanting 8 that is being denoted. So there are regions which are showing haze. So the proportion of haze that is being seen is located here, and then you have certain areas where obscured sky is seen, and these are the areas where a overcast sky with probably heavy rainfalls could be witnessed. So this is how you read a weather map. So weather map, reading of the weather map is again very important, and that could happen once you have a good and a sound knowledge of the various symbols that we have discussed before. So the instruments required in weather monitoring and the interpretation are equally important, and most of the meteorological and weather phenomena associated with it can be answered with the help of these basic information that is there. So that was about the basics of understanding the weather instruments and the basic practicals. We would be covering many more interesting topics in geography. Stay tuned. Have a wonderful day ahead.